All right, Mario, if you don't get your act together, so help me, I'm gonna... Oh. Hi everybody, Megazard here, back at it again to give you another very exciting video, and I don't know what you just recently saw right there. I was just having a casual conversation with Mario. Okay, some of y'all might be wondering what the heck were we talking about. All right, I might as well go ahead and vouch my side of the argument before the big blue overall man himself go ahead and says his side though. So in this video today, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about some things that need to change with 2D Mario. Because here lately, I don't know how the most of y'all feel, but I felt like 2D Mario has kind of stagnated since we went from Super Mario Bros. Wii to the Wii U one, and thus by extension, we had the Wii U Deluxe one, and I was like, a lot of people been seeming to be burnt out on it, me, myself included. I didn't even pick up the deluxe version for this one though. So in this video today, I'm gonna talk about some things that I noticed from times history in the past, of where 2D Mario was heading and where I feel like it should be going, and just point out all the flaws and stuff I noticed. So if you hadn't already done so, make sure to go ahead and hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell. That way you can stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing for the foreseeable future though. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight into this video. So some of y'all noticed that 2D Mario has been going kind of stale. In comparison, when you look at the 3D Marios, you saw everything they did with Mario Galaxy to Mario Galaxy 2. You saw everything what they did with Super Mario Odyssey, and then what they most recently did with Bowser's Fury. 3D Mario has been fine, great with almost every release that they have done. There's not that many bad criticisms with some of those games, unless you rewind all the way back with Mario Sunshine. I had some stuff to say about that one though. But 3D Mario, for the most part, has been really rock steady solid though. But 2D Mario, I felt like has gone a little bit stale. But in order to figure out where some of the issues might lie, we have to start rewinding back into the past. Now, rewind all the way back to 1983, we know that that's when the video game market crash has happened. And then since then, Nintendo had to be pretty clever about how they were going to be able to introduce a new console, let alone a whole bunch of games, and be able to casually introduce that into a market that really wasn't favoring video games that much though. So a few years later after that crash, they came out with Super Mario Bros., which literally kicked off the start of the 2D Mario line. While yes, that was like a really basic game, looking back at it retrospectively, at least at the time, it set down a lot of groundwork and a lot of inspiration for not just the 2D Mario series in general, but just with other AAA developers at the time and any point in the future, along with inspiring a lot of different indie developers on just platforming in general. They just kind of laid down the fundamental foundation for it. We know Mario usually goes from like left to right in those series of levels. He usually will run, walk or run, whatever you want to do, jump over pipes, go down in pipes, jump up, get power-ups, bust up blocks, land on the shell and fall on it and knock the shell forward, knocking out a bunch of enemies in front of it and a whole bunch of other little things, etc. though. Not a really deep game, but it did lay out a lot of different foundations, so we can appreciate it for what it did at its time back in those early NES days. Fast forward a few years later, you can pick out Super Mario Bros. 3, which was one of the first Mario games to actually introduce a world map, let alone just a Nintendo game in general though. And with that one, you have the introduction of like the Tanuki suit as well, and a few other interesting new power-ups. You're actually able to save power-ups and whatnot though. You're actually able to save in between certain worlds and levels in comparison to the NES Mario days, whereas like with that original Super Mario Brothers, if you had like a sister that came over there and just hit the reset button or turn that system off, you got to start all over back from square one. So at least they added some really cool stuff and some really nice changes within Super Mario Bros. 3. They actually introduced the Koopalings, all the Bowser's minions and stuff like that though, which happen to be super iconic, made their, reintroductions in a lot of different Mario games and spin-offs later on in the future though. But yeah, it added some really nice, interesting dynamics within Super Mario Bros. 3, which makes it still a pretty fun and enjoyable game, even looking back at it today. Fast forward a little bit, a few years later, back in the Super Nintendo lifespan though, and then you get into Super Mario World, which honestly has some really good music. I mean, I still can't get that one thing out of my mind where it's like that dun 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 dun. and you know the theme for the rest of that though. But with Super Mario Brothers World added a lot of other extra stuff on top of expanding upon the world maps. You had like a lot of different areas where you had secret levels where you can able to split off, and there's like a lot of discoverability within that game instead of just a standard going from left to right. I think there were some levels where you literally had to go from right to left in certain segments of the game though. You had the power segments and stuff like that though, and a lot of different other bosses and enemies introduced. You have that capability where you're able to run, get a jump start, and you literally can fly from like one side of the level all the way over to the other side. So it felt like there was some interesting dynamics that was getting improved from the first game and then some few iterations later you saw in Super Mario Bros. 3, and then you saw in Super Mario Bros. World. But then when you look at new Super Mario Bros. On the Wii, I think that was the last big jump in terms of some really impressive stuff. Because at least with that one, that was the first inclusion of the game where you can play a multiplayer with up to 4 different people. Yes, on the Wii, it was crazy. You're able to use Mario, you're able to use Luigi, you're able to use a couple of Toads, be the blue Toad and the yellow Toad. And honestly, you can have a lot of fun. You can actually pick up the other allies and literally carry them to the other side of the level. So I was like, it added some nice, interesting dynamics like that. So obviously you can play the game by yourself solo or up to 4 players. So that added a quite interesting dynamic though. So I felt like with most 2D Marios up until this point, we had something super substantial, whether it's like stuff with the new enemies they introduced, the new worlds, world map, discoverability, secret levels, new power-ups, etc. though. But by the time we got the new Super Mario Bros. U, that's where some of the issues started to lie. Because at least with new Super Mario Bros. U, it just felt like new Super Mario Bros. Wii, just polished with some HD coding. Yes, the game looks pretty good in HD, but I felt like there wasn't a lot of changes from the Wii to the Wii U version. And then by extension, how it went from that to the Switch, I mean, literally all they did was added a new power up where it was like the Super Crown thing, which, oh my gosh, there was like a meme going around with Bowser getting that Super Crown, whatever. Oh my gosh, I ain't gonna try to bring up that whole thing though. But at least with that one, it allowed you to use Toadette to actually be able to use Peach and then using the level. But outside of that, there wasn't too much more beyond it. And I was like, well, it's like you're still running from start to finish, left to right usually. You get some power-ups, you just kind of zip by. It's just like you're just running on the foreground, not really anything going on in the background. And, you know, it's a simple go from point A to point B. There's not like a lot of pizzazz and not a lot of, you know, extra little funky stuff up in there though. And it's just like, it just kind of felt like it got a little bit stale. Now, when I compare these other games, and you might be seeing some stuff here on the screen though, one of the games I want to compare it to is Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Because let's take a look at that, because at least with that series, there's some really nice, interesting dynamics that happen in both the foreground and the background. There's literally some levels where you're going along and you can tell that there's like a boss that's lurking in the water or whatnot though, and just staring at you as you're progressing through the thing. Just little subtle differences between that foreground and that background that's actually pretty dynamic. There's even parts where you literally hop in a barrel and you jump into the background and you knock off some walls, run into some enemies or whatnot though. I like that foreground, background stuff like that. The music and the different environments and stuff like that, they drastically change as you go through the level. It might start off with some calm, relaxing stuff, and then the music just intensifies with the levels and stakes. The platforming isn't necessarily easy like Super Mario Brothers is for the most part though. It's just a lot more of an interesting dynamic. While yes, that might be kind of iconic to the Donkey Kong Tropical series, I would like to still see something a little bit different with the 2D Mario. Looking at another example, you have like Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and Will of the Wisp. I think those two are some of my most iconic 2D platformers ever, along with Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, you know, as really solid 2D platformer games. At least with those ones, while yes, the basic combat within the first game was pretty basic, you just use your attack button and just kind of flew around you and just attacked a whole bunch of enemies. But then if you look at Will of the Wisp, they actually upgraded that a little bit more, where you actually have like more like a blade that you're going through and slicing through. You have like level ups and achievements where you're able to unlock more abilities, which actually adds a nice little bit of spice and flavor. Within that 2D platform space, you have the double jump and all of that stuff, slow down times, jumping off of like tiny little lanterns and being able to rock and repel you up. You have like chase themes and stuff where you got to quickly zip by the level and stuff like that. there's a lot of interesting things that you can do with 2D games, but I don't necessarily see it happening within 2D Mario games. You're still moving from point A to point B. Maybe the most interesting is just like slow movement parts where it's like you literally are walking or running through the level, and it's like the camera is self-paced and moves from like left to right like that, where you're able to go through it though. Although I'm not really a big fan of those kind of levels in general. I don't know, those ones just don't necessarily rub off on me in the right manner or whatnot though. But yeah, that's just some things I've noticed with 2D Mario ones. I feel like you can go and expand upon 2D Mario a whole lot more, especially the fact that since Super Mario Bros. Wii U was probably the last, technically, it's the last time we had a substantial 2D Mario game. You just literally ported the Wii U version to the Switch. You really hadn't done anything new. Yes, there are some rumors that maybe a new 2D Mario could be coming out this year in the year of 2023. Maybe not, who knows though, but I certainly do not want another 2D Mario if it's just going to play just the same as like the Super Mario Bros. U one. I don't necessarily want that. I mean, yes, you could add in new characters, which could add a little bit of extra flair up in there, though. But I think it goes back down to the core principle of maybe you could do some stuff like with the combat itself. While yes, you just usually run around jumping on enemies, landing on shells, picking up enemies, and you can just chunk back the shell or whatever back at them. I feel like there might be something a little bit more you can do. Maybe like a little bit of a fight scene or something like that. I don't know. There's probably different ways that you can go about and handle it though. But I feel like we need that next new jump in 2D Mario in comparison to what we're currently at right now though. And I was like, I would love to hear some of y'all thoughts down in the comment section down below, because I feel like there's a lot of different things you can do, especially when you look at other indie games and seeing how they handle their platform and stuff like that. Even if there was like a level up system or maybe a skill tree, which I'm not normally a fan of skill trees, but I certainly would accept it within a Mario game at this point, just to add a little bit of extra spice and flair though. But yeah, I think that's all the stuff I had to get off my chest at this point. I literally was thinking about what I wanted to talk about within this video though, for this week, and I was like, man, I don't know, 2D Mario just kind of gotten underneath my skin. I'm still waiting for a new 3D Mario to come out maybe this next year, or maybe it comes out on the Switch successor or something like that. But 2D Mario, I don't know, it just always scratched a nerve and an itch or something like that within me though. Come on, Nintendo, I know you can do something different. You know, just inspire us. I know it's time to go back to the drawing board for that series though, because I feel like there's so much more you could do with it that can add a little bit of extra. Like, look at Metroid Dread for freaking crying out loud. All the crazy stuff you're able to do like that, the parrying and stuff that you can do off of the arm, the sliding, the shooting and stuff like that, the different boss things and the different environments and stuff, the stuff that's going on in the foreground and the background. I mean, you do it for a lot of your other IPs. But Mario just gets the same basic old. I know you're trying to entertain to, like, you know, there's obviously older people that will go through and play through these series as well, but then obviously a whole bunch of younger audiences. I know you don't want to make it too complex for them though, but at the same time, I feel like it's time to catch up with the times, Nintendo. Like, we gotta do something different for this series though. But yeah, okay, I think I made all my peace. Mario. You got that, Mario. You got that. That's my side of the argument, okay? Okay, I made my side. I don't care what you say to all of them, Mario, but things need to change. Things need to change right now. But yeah, all right, that's basically all I have to say for this video right here though. So if you really liked it, make sure you go and hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell. That way you can stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing for the foreseeable future though. So remember y'all, until our video I make next, see y'all.